nose.
See, I always have that line because of the glasses. That and the like indents, I'm pretty sure. You know how if you wear glasses for a really long time, they start to just like wear away the bone above your ears?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got divots.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, it's
Hey,
probably
everybody.
fine. Just we've been live for like 20 seconds. The internet knows about my loss of skull, but you know, just as long as nobody like targets it hit above my ear, which I'm not in combat, so I don't see why they would.
Yeah,
Probably
no.
fine.
That would be a low blow. Don't do that.
Yeah, no one would do that. Well, like Dad's got massive divots because he's been wearing glasses for 60 years or whatever.
Yeah, I like my contacts, not just because of the lack of divots, but also because glasses don't sit right on my crooked nose. I'm always having to adjust them.
My ears are at different levels, but until I told you that, you wouldn't have known. But it does mean that my glasses are always a tiny bit crooked.
If anyone watches this, I was just telling my sibling that
See?
that the Overwatch cookbook is badass, is what it boils down to. Like, TLDR, I made a meat pie this evening with my 9-year-old son, and it was really cute, and he had so much fun, and he cooked, and he baked, and I was like, this is going to come out tasting awful, and it was amazingly delicious. So, props to... what is her name? Hang on.
I was going to say, you need me to Google it on my phone? I can do that.
I will Google it here. Cook. Book.
I don't think you have me up on your screen, but I'm like testing which way I point to point at you because it was such a struggle last week. I'm like, wait.
Chelsea Monroe Cassell. Okay. Chelsea Monroe Cassell is my favorite chef of all time because every recipe we've tried in either of the cookbooks of hers that we have is amazing. And for those looking to buy me a birthday present, she made a Firefly cookbook.
Well, if I know anyone who's planning to give you a birthday present, I'll let them know.
You do that. Yeah, it's I got so accustomed to subpar nerd cookbooks that are just like, here's chocolate chip cookies, we're going to pretend that they're interesting. Or make them in the shape of Daleks or something, you know?
Yeah, the Doctor Who cookbook was very disappointing.
It was pretty miserable. And
it was not good.
And then we picked up the Monroe Cassell's Star Wars cookbook, and everything's been not just delicious, but like unusual and not something I would normally try. And turmeric in my coffee, what the hell?
I've heard that's really good.
It's so good. And she's like, put the turmeric in the cream and then put Chinese 5-spice in the coffee, and then you can mix them, and it's so yummy.
That sounds delightful. I don't even like coffee, but that sounds worth a try.
It is. And Nerf kebabs are a family favorite. You make breadsticks and meatballs and you thread them together on a skewer, let the bread rise, and then bake them. So you've got this fluffy bread, but it's got like meat juices soaking into it, and oh.
You're making me want these cookbooks, and I don't even cook. My kitchen right now is so small that you can't open the refrigerator and the oven at the same time.
That is so sad.
It's terrible. You also can't like stand in front of the oven and open it. You have to stand off to the side because there's like this much room between the oven door and the fridge.
I keep telling people who are putting islands in their new kitchens that that's going to happen, but they never listen. That's probably because they're on television and I'm shouting at a screen and that they don't listen.
You know, have you watched, do you guys watch Baking Show, Great British Baking Show?
No, we don't. Mike does, but we don't.
I recommend it. We've been obsessed ever since I got back from Prague. But there's a new season, and if you were a fan, I was going to be like, can you believe who they eliminated? God damn it. But for the record, for anyone who is watching, we just watched the first episode, and I really don't think that they should have eliminated Linnea, I think her name was, because
Me neither.
they were like, your food is over seasoned, and I was like, Paul Hollywood, you are too British, and her food has flavor.
Right?
Like, don't you
Any
dare.
flavor at all is uncouth.
The other woman, her cake was like raw. I'm like, how dare you?
Right. Yeah, that's pathetic. I'm
So
not
mad about it.
love over seasoned food, Linnea. Just keep doing what you do.
Yeah. Oh God, what did she make that looked
Over
really good? She
seasoned
made
food
like
is probably just adequately seasoned food.
she made a chocolate chili cake, and he said she had too much chili in it.
He's wrong.
He's wrong. Okay, one thing you will learn when you start watching baking show is that Paul Hollywood is wrong about everything. There is a season where he's like, make an American style pie. I've been to America. I'll know if you're doing a good job. That bitch has never eaten an American style pie in his life.
So the pies are all just fucking random.
They were tarts. They made them with short crust pastry in tart pans.
No.
I'm just saying, I think you would enjoy it.
I would indeed. I've caught the occasional episode. I did watch the one where it was, name some off-kilter actors. One that starts with an R. And looks like Steve Coogan, only sharper and weirder.
I feel like I should be able to name that guy, and I cannot think of who that is.
It'll occur to me at some point. But he was on there baking. His big showpiece was the birth of his child in cake form, and he made it a giant vagina. And so they all had to talk very, very subduedly and Britishly about this giant vagina that he was baking, with like scenes from the birth in the hospital around it in short crust pastries, and like the rose scent that was going to be like accenting the clitoris and stuff. It was fucking hilarious. Russell Brand.
Russell Brand. Okay, I think you're thinking of a different show because Russell Brand has never been on the Great British Baking Show. They don't have celebrities.
I feel like it was totally the same tent. Do they rent that tent out?
Maybe they had like some kind of weird one-off like celebrity bake-off or something. But yeah, that must be what it is, because normally it's just like random people from around Great Britain.
I
Like they don't
know. I've seen enough of the show that I know, but that's what made this so funny, was because it was Russell Brand and a baked vagina, and that narrator that comes on to describe the dish in more detail after he's described it had to do it to yeah.
Was it the one where they had the two lady presenters, Mel and Sue?
It might have been. Is that not the same one?
No, it is. That is Great British Baking Show, but if so, the narrator is Sue Perkins, and that would just be so delightful because she is a hilarious comedian and also a lesbian.
Russell Brand, Great British Baking Show. He shocks the tent with his intimate showstopper. Yeah, that happened.
Have not heard about that at all up to this point, and I now really need to find it.
Well, apparently if you Google Russell Brand Great British Baking Show, it's the first result. So
you've enriched my life.
But I have seen some of the ordinary people. I saw, I think, of season 2, and it made me sad because a guy threw his ice cream cake in the trash instead of serving it up because he was so upset that his ice cream
that one sucked. That's one of the like notorious episodes because of that. Yeah.
See, I've only seen the notorious episodes. I must have like caught some kind of it was a compilation of all the ones that they don't want to remember.
This season they have a lady on named Lottie, and it's talking about her, and it's like Lottie enjoys, oh gosh, what was it? She enjoys something or other and doing yoga with her best friend. And Sandy and I in unison went, gay?
Gay! Yes.
And We don't know that she is, but she wears a leather jacket and looks and acts like a doorbell deerheart. So in fact, we do know.
Yes. Did you know that Tuva Janssen was a lesbian?
Yes. Yes, I did.
That makes me so happy. I learned it a few months ago, I think, and then I forgot to bring it up. Or I
I think
remembered. That's why we both know.
I think it made the internet rounds a few months ago because that's when I found out too.
It makes me happy.
Me too.
Today I'll be working. It's your turn to read, right?
Yes.
I will be working on molybdenum, who is this horse guy.
I like the background. That's super cool.
Right? It's one of the few actual backgrounds I managed to create. I might go through the others later and like do more stuff like this because I like the sense of space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of cool that he's got something in the background. It's not so. It's not like as formless doesn't seem like the right word.
Like it's on a sweep. It's not. Yeah. The
Yeah.
others are more. I don't know the word either. I have forgotten. But molybdenum is one of those metals that's real, or yeah, transition metals that is very good under enormous quantities of heat and pressure. And so I have to convey the image that he is pushing, holding it apart. So wish me luck with that because it's been a long time since I took anatomy and physiology.
Best of luck with that.
Fortunately, there's no such thing as people with horse heads, so if I put muscles in the wrong place, no, they're not.
I mean, I'm gonna just say there is a community of people who spend a lot of time drawing anthropomorphic animal situations with a lot of musculature, so I'm sure you can find a reference.
Furry. Not porn.
I'm just saying, I mean, depending on how you plan to have him dressed, you might find some good ones in the furry porn too. I'm not taking any responsibility for your Google search history suggestions after that. But I'm just gonna say there is definitely an accepted convention somewhere on the internet about what sort of musculature a horseman ought to have.
Speaking of furriness, have you seen furriness? It doesn't work anymore. Speaking of furry culture, did you see how niobium turned out?
Yes, she's the possum one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all like you can see me.
I could hear it in your voice.
Thank you.
Oh, Felix, by the way, is hitting some notes in the background that you may also hear. He's experimenting with the high registers currently.
Oh, that's fun. Competing with these shouting neighbors.
Harmonizing, perhaps.
All right. Where were we on Middle Earth?
That's a good question. Gandalf had run off.
That's
and then
right.
they talked about Helm's Deep a little bit.
I will wait till Gandalf comes back. Then you might be waiting long. I think that's where we left off.
Well, no, because then we were. It was let's see, talked about how Erkenbrand was wise and had repaired the wall.
Oh,
and made the fastness strong.
Yes.
The riders were still in the low valley before the mouth of the Coombe when cries and horn blasts were heard from their scouts that went in front. Out of the darkness, arrows whistled. Swiftly, a scout rode back and reported that wolf riders were abroad in the valley, and that a host of orcs and wild men were hurrying southwards from the fords of Eisen and seemed to be making for Helm's Deep. And that is the entirety.
Wolf riders.
What?
Damn you! I see the ElfQuest wolf riders now.
Don't damn me! Tolkien wrote it. But also, I also find it really amusing that that's the entirety of the description of a 10-minute scene in the book or in the movie.
Yep. They took that sentence and they ran with it.
We have found many of our folk lying slain as they fled thither, said the scout, and we have met many scattered companies going this way and that, leaderless. What has become of Erkenbrand, none seem to know. It is likely that he will be overtaken ere he can reach Helm's Gate, if he has not already perished. Has aught been seen of Gandalf? Asked Theoden. Yes, lord. Many have seen an old man in white upon a horse, passing hither and thither over the plains, like wind in the grass. Some thought he was Saruman. It is said that he went away ere nightfall towards Isengard.
Saruman doesn't
Some say
ride
also...
Saruman doesn't ride a horse.
Right? There's no way. Saruman has never ridden a horse in his life. I'm calling it right now. He does not vibe with horses. And frankly, I'm not saying that to make him seem like more of a villain, because I also do not vibe with horses.
Fair enough.
This is weirdly appropriate for the picture that you're drawing.
Fine, don't vibe with horses.
That's molybdenum's fine. It's just, I like, we took horse riding classes in middle school or whatever, and I found horses to be very large and very bouncy.
Yeah.
And very apt to step on you.
I definitely felt like me and the horse were more comfortable as separate units.
Yeah. I was not a horse child.
And besides, earlier, the rumors about Saruman were that he walks here and there. Do you think he would walk if anyone had, or that would be the rumor if anyone had ever seen him ride?
Very good point. Now, if segways had been invented, I really see Saruman on a Segway.
I could see him in a rickshaw.
I just like the image of him in Orthanc, like, welcome, Gandalf the Grey. You have chosen poorly. Brr. Let's see.
Yes.
It is said that he went away ere nightfall toward Isengard. Some say also that Wormtongue was seen earlier, going northward with a company of orcs. It will go ill with Wormtongue if Gandalf comes upon him, said Theoden. Nonetheless, I miss now both my counselors, the old and the new. But in this need we have no better choice than to go on, as Gandalf said, to Helm's Gate, whether Erkenbrand be there or no. Is it known how great is the host that comes from the north? It is very great, said the scout. He that flies counts every foeman twice. Yet I have spoken to stout-hearted men, and I do not doubt that the main strength of the enemy is many times as great as all that we have here.
Fuck.
My brain was like picturing someone on, like, riding some sort of flying animal, counting every foeman twice. And then I was like, no, not that kind of flying.
No, the other
they
kind
do
of
not
flying.
have air support.
Damn it, they could really use it.
I know.
Hey, 2 seconds. I know this is supremely unimportant, but what markings should my horseman have? Should he be bay, buckskin, pinto? Should I put a blaze on his forehead? Should he be...
My heart says bay with a blaze because I think that would look good against the background.
That would look very nice against, because bay's got red in it, so to have that against the
green.
Nice. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
My heart says bay, but my head says nay.
And my horse says nay. This is apropos of absolutely nothing that we're talking about in the book or about your art, but did I tell you when I got a plant? The other week? So I went to Trader Joe's and they have skull-shaped planters with succulents in them right now. And I was like, well, I'm having one of those, obviously.
Yeah.
So I bought one. He's had a few names. I was calling him Edward because he's sparkly. But
excellent.
Yeah, but I think I might change the name because for some reason he strikes me as a Horace. And that is possibly because I went to Trader Joe's again and I am weak and I bought another one.
So what's Horace's friend's name?
Milton.
Okay, you have issues.
Oh, honey, I got subscriptions. All right, let's see where we're at. The strength of the enemy is many times as great as what the Rohirrim have.
Yeah.
Then let us be swift, said Eomer. Let us drive through such foes as are already between us and the fastness. Let us do it with the quickness to get to the fastness. There are caves in Helm's Deep where hundreds may lie hid, and secret ways lead thence up onto the hills.
With Captain Jack Harkness?
If only.
Right.
Trust not to secret ways, said the king. Saruman has long spied out this land. Still, in that place our defense may last long. Let us go. Aragorn and Legolas went now with Eomer in the van, which I know means the front, but I am legitimately picturing a van. Like,
Well,
you know
yeah.
that Eomer would have a van with,
Drives
like,
the
a horse with
corridor.
lightning bolts. But, like, okay, what would be painted on the side of his van? Because I'm thinking a horse with lightning bolts, but I'm open to suggestions.
Oh, like a whole herd.
Oh, yeah, like one of the, like a really kitschy jigsaw puzzle style, like herd of running horses.
Hell yes.
Brown upholstery, a vague smell.
Of yes, of sort of like cigars smoked to cover up the smell of the pot.
Yep. So basically what every van smells like.
Yes. And several of the horses painted on the outside will be black because we know that that would be a big FU to Sauron, who likes to steal the black horses.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So now I'm just picturing Éomer driving his van over the plains with Aragorn and Legolas in the passenger seat in the back, respectively. You know, Aragorn always takes shotgun.
Oh, yeah, of course.
On through the dark night they rode, ever slower as the darkness deepened and their way climbed southward, higher and higher into the dim folds about the mountain's feet. The headlights on the van aren't very good.
Yes.
They found few of the enemy before them. Here and there they came upon roving bands of orcs, but they fled ere the riders could take or slay them. It will not be long, I fear, said Éomer, ere the coming of the king's host will be known to the leader of our enemies, Saruman, or whatever captain he has sent forth. The rumor of war grew behind them. Now they could hear, borne over the dark, the sound of harsh singing. They had climbed far up into the deeping coombe when they looked back.
Take a moment.
Hmm?
Orcs sing. What are they singing? We're gonna cut the conkers off. ABBA?
Mama, here I go again.
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Look at me now. There's a fire within my soul.
Dancing Queen, young and sweet.
Well, I can't unthink that. Anyway. They had climbed far up into the deeping coombe when they looked back. Then they saw torches, countless points of fiery light upon the black fields behind, scattered like red flowers or winding up from the lowlands in long flickering lines. Here and there, a larger blaze leapt up. It is a great host and follows us hard, said Aragorn. They bring fire, said Theoden, and they are burning as they come, rick, cotton, tree. This was a rich vale and had many homesteads. Alas for my folk. Would that the day was here, and we might ride down upon them like a storm out of the mountains, said Aragorn. It grieves me to fly before them. We need not fly much further, said Éomer. Not far ahead now lies Helm's Dyke, An ancient trench and rampart scored across the Coombe, 2 furlongs below Helm's Gate.
It's not
There
just
we
a
can
dike,
turn and
but
give
it has
battle.
scored. That is how progressive he is.
What?
Not just a dike, but a dike that scored. Very progressive.
Look, every dike is a 10 out of 10.
It's true.
Nay, we are too few to defend the dike, said Theoden. It is a mile long or more, and the breach in it is wide. At the breach, our rearguard must stand if we are pressed, said Eomer. There was neither star nor moon when the riders came to the breach in the dike, where the stream from above passed out, and the road beside it ran down from the Hornburg. The rampart loomed suddenly before them, a high shadow beyond a dark pit. As they rode up, a sentinel challenged them. The Lord of the Mark rides to Helm's Gate, Eomer answered. I don't know why his voice just got deeper, just did. I, Eomer, son of Eamon, speak. This is good tidings beyond hope, said the sentinel. Hasten, the enemy is on your heels. The host passed through the breach and halted on the sloping sward above. They now learned to their joy that Erkenbrand had left many men to hold Helm's Gate, and more had since escaped thither. Maybe we have 1,000 fit to fight on foot, said Gamling, an old man, the leader of those that watched the dike. But most of them have seen too many winters, as I have, or too few, as my son's son here. What news of Erkenbrand? Word came yesterday that he was retreating hither with all that is left of the best riders of Westfold. But he has not come. I fear that he will not come now, said Eomer. Our scouts have gained no news of him, and the enemy fills all the valley behind us. I would that he had escaped, said Theoden. He was a mighty man. In him lived again the valor of Helm the Hammerhand. But we cannot await him here. We must withdraw all our forces now beyond the walls. Are you well stored? We bring little provision, for we rode forth to open battle, not to a siege. Behind us, in the caves of the deep, are 3 parts of the folk of Westfold, old and young, children and women, said Gamling. But great store of food, and many beasts and their fodder have also been gathered there. That is well, said Eomer. They are burning or despoiling all that is left in the vale. If they come to bargain for our goods at Helm's Gate, they will pay a high price, said Gamling. That's a really badass comment right there.
Right? Go Gamling.
The king and his riders passed on. Before the causeway that crossed the stream, they dismounted. In a long file, they led their horses up the ramp and passed within the gates of the Hornburg. There they were welcomed again with joy and renewed hope, for now there were men enough to man both the burg and the barrier wall. Quickly, Eomer set his men in readiness. The king and the men of his household were in the Hornburg, and there also were many of the Westfold men. But on the deeping wall and its tower and behind it, Eomer arrayed most of the strength that he had, for here the defense seemed more doubtful if the assault were determined and in great force. The horses were led far up the deep, under such guard as could be spared. The deeping wall was 20 feet high, and so thick that 4 men could walk abreast along the top, sheltered by a parapet, over which only a tall man could look. Here and there were clefts in the stone through which men could shoot. This battlement could be reached by a stair running down from a door in the outer court of the Hornburg. 3 flights of steps led also up onto the wall from the deep behind. But in front it was smooth, and the great stones of it were set with such skill that no foothold could be found at their joints, and at the top they hung over like a sea-delved cliff.
He writes very satisfying descriptions of places.
Mm-hmm. He does, although my spatial reasoning is terrible, so I can't picture that at all, except that I've seen the movie.
Yeah. I'm good at picturing it initially, but then my brain shrinks it. My brain shrinks anything I'm reading until great halls are the size of living rooms. Basically, a living room is the size I can picture with any words.
Yeah, I get you.
Thank you.
I think like my brain will generate spaces, but if like to describe a space like this, that specifically is very hard for me to follow along.
Yeah.
Gimli stood leaning against the breastwork upon the wall. Hey, now you can't do that in public.
Mhm. They're
Legolas sat
walking
above,
fast, they might as well lean.
I suppose. Legolas sat above on the parapet, fingering his bow and peering out into the gloom. This is more to my liking, said the dwarf, stamping on the stones. Ever my heart rises as we draw near the mountains. There's good rock here. This country has tough bones. I felt them in my feet as we came up from the dike. Give me a year and 100 of my kin, and I would make this a place that armies would break upon like water. I do not doubt it, said Legolas. But you are a dwarf, and dwarfs are strange folk. I do not like this place, and I shall like it no more by the light of day. But you comfort me, Gimli, and I am glad to have you standing nigh with your stout legs and your hard axe. You know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there were more of your kin among us, but even more would I give for 100 good archers of Mirkwood. We shall need them. The Rohirrim have good bowmen after their fashion, but there are too few here, too few. It is dark for archery, said Gimli. Indeed, it is time for sleep. Sleep. I feel the need of it, as never I thought any dwarf could. Riding is tiring work. Yet my axe is restless in my hand. Give me a row of orc necks and room to swing, and all weariness will fall from me. A slow time passed. Far down in the valley, scattered fires still burned. The hosts of Isengard were advancing in silence now. Their torches could be seen winding up the coombe in many lines. Suddenly from the dike, yells and screams and the fierce battle cries of men broke out. Flaming brands appeared over the brink and clustered thickly at the breach. Then they scattered and vanished. Men came galloping back over the field and up the ramp to the gate of the Hornburg. The rearguard of the Westfolters had been driven in. The enemy is at hand, they said. We loosed every arrow that we had and filled the dike with orcs. But it will not halt them long. Already they are scaling the bank at many points, thick as marching ants. But we have taught them not to carry torches. It was now past midnight. The sky was utterly dark, and the stillness of the heavy air foreboded storm. Suddenly the clouds were seared by a blinding flash. Branched lightning smote down upon the eastward hills. For a staring moment, the watchers on the walls saw all the space between them and the dike lit with white light. It was boiling and crawling with black shapes, some squat and broad, some tall and grim, with high helms and sable shields. I feel like they didn't do that in the movie, like the silent advance and then the lightning flash.
Right?
I wish they would have. That would have been a really cool shot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's at least we have it in the book. You can picture what's going on out there, and then the lightning flash, and it's like,
Oh, shit.
Fuck.
Let's see. Hundreds and hundreds more were pouring over the dike and through the breach. The dark tide flowed up to the walls from cliff to cliff. Thunder rolled in the valley. Rain came lashing down. Arrows thick as the rain came whistling over the battlements and fell clinking and glancing on the stones. Some found a mark. The assault on Helm's Deep had begun, but no sound or challenge was heard within. No answering arrows came. The assailing hosts halted, foiled by the silent menace of rock and wall. Ever and again the lightning tore aside the darkness. Then the orcs screamed, waving spear and sword, and shooting a cloud of arrows at any that stood revealed upon the battlements. And the men of the mark, amazed, looked out, as it seemed to them, upon a great field of dark corn, tossed by a tempest of war, and every ear glinted with barbed light. Just letting that sink in for a minute.
Yeah.
Brazen trumpets sounded. The enemy surged forward, some against the deeping wall, others towards the causeway and the ramp that led up to the Hornburg gates. There the hugest orcs were mustered, and the wild men of the Dunland fells. A moment they hesitated, and then on they came. The lightning flashed, and blazoned upon every helm and shield the ghastly hand of Isengard was seen. They reached the summit of the rock. They drove towards the gates.
I'm sorry, I had to.
Oh my god, for some reason the other night I could not stop thinking about the scene where they go to the Upsons like summer home and there's no sugar in a Claude Upson daiquiri. And yet it's
And yet it's
so
so
sweet.
sweet. I just showed that to the kids, and something I noticed that never had really registered with me
Mhm.
uh, before is she's trying her damnedest to get along with them until she realizes they are racist. Like when she just thinks that they're tacky, she's doing her utmost to get along with them. Like trying so hard, and they get tackier and tackier. And the moment one of them says, the what is it? This property or this neighborhood is restricted only up to our property line, so we feel we have an obligation to make sure that, well, and that moment Rosalind Russell's face goes, oh. Like,
That's really interesting. I never noticed that, but that's right, because
yeah,
that's the moment when she gets the like evil expression on her face and she's like, "Oh, the hell no, you're not marrying into this family."
right, like when it was just sort of subverted, you could tell that they were yeah,
When they were just kind of new money and like obnoxious,
yeah.
she would have been like, "Okay, all right, this is what you want, honey. Like,
We'll do, yeah,
we'll
I'll
make it work
try.
because, you know, these are like, I'm not going to be happy about you suddenly getting super judgy and shitty about how I live, but I will try to get along with your in-laws."
Until yeah, and it's the what was it? Someone's bidding on that property. His name's Abraham Epstein. And she's like, "Oh my god, the cellist, I love him." And they're like, "No, no, 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 no. No." And she goes, "Oh." And then she utterly destroys their pretensions to be any part of her life. And yeah, just
Yeah.
repeated that twice. Sorry about that.
Oh no, well, it's fine because yeah. Yeah, I had forgotten like the context around that too, but yeah.
That was,
Anti-Semitic, racist assholes. Auntie
and
Mame was not having that.
she manages to alienate them, not just by acting completely um eccentric and frightening, but by helping Abraham Epstein buy the property. That's the moment that they're like, "Oh my god, you are evil," and they storm out. It's like, not, it's not even, yeah. If you all were
Well,
decent people, that wouldn't have bothered you. So
right, and the thing is, they were probably planning like, okay, we're going to tolerate her until they're safely married, and then we're going to like basically browbeat Patrick into disowning her.
right,
But then
or suck up to
she
her because she has money. But
probably both. Suck up
yeah,
to her, try to get as much money as they can and through Patrick, and then once she stops giving him money for them, then get him to
fuck
cut her off. And that was the thing where they were like they couldn't maintain their whatever
yeah. They
anymore.
couldn't pretend any longer. They couldn't pretend to be tolerant any longer. And
I mean, they weren't really pretending to be tolerant in the first place, but
they didn't even know what tolerant was. That was the sad thing about them.
yeah. They were, I mean, in 2020 terms, they were extremely all lives matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredibly insulated from realities.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of them.
Yep. Man, Sandy and I were having a conversation about this with people that are still like very vocally Harry Potter fans, and how
Yeah.
there's only really two ways that can happen. Either you're so insulated from reality that you don't understand or like you don't know what's happening, or you're a transphobe and you don't care. But like, because there's nothing like, people who are fans of the books, there's nothing wrong with having enjoyed the books, but people who go out of their way to be like, look at my Harry Potter stuff, Harry Potter forever. Like, you're either doing that as because you're tone deaf or because you hate trans people too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think most of it is tone deaf. Like I don't
Mostly,
want it
yeah,
to,
but
I did not want it to be true about Chick-fil-A. Honestly, I love their sandwiches. And then I looked not just at the fact that it was money, but how much money.
mhm.
Because I was like, there's propaganda on both sides. If it's like $10 a year, and then I looked and I went, oh no, 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 no.
No.
There's no sandwich that's worth that. That's nonsense.
Yep. Yeah.
I would love to see a remake of Auntie Mame, incidentally. I think that would be so awesome and hardcore. And they would do a better job because in the 50s and 60s, they made really shitty period pieces. Like it looked like the 50s, even though it was supposed to be the 20s.
Yeah, I had forgotten it was supposed to be the 20s because it looked so much like the 50s.
And it's very much like a play. It's set up like a play. It's blocked like a play. So someone who actually understood filmmaking made it as a film.
Mhm.
Oh, I want to see that so bad.
Who would you cast as Auntie Mame?
I don't know. My go-to for years now has been Renee Russo, but she's gotten a little past it
Mm,
age-wise. She makes a damn fine mother now, but I don't think she could do the young Auntie Mame. Um, I'll have to think on it. You? Do you have a go-to?
I mean, I don't know how I don't know how she would do with the part and with the like character, but someone who could pass for the young Auntie Mame and also be the older Auntie Mame would be Charlize Theron.
Yes. Yes, she would. It might be fun. She's a powerhouse.
She enjoys stuff like that too. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
she enjoys being an action hero right now. That's what she's having a lot of fun with. But
right.
um, yeah,
I don't know who else could do the young matron and then the older matron.
I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
It is definitely time for a story about someone with infinite amounts of charm who, in very subtle ways, fights against bigotry, hatred, and narrow-mindedness of all kinds. Not that it's
I mean,
ever
I don't even think the ways have to be that subtle, but yeah.
Did you ever read Around the World with Auntie Mame?
No, I didn't.
Oh, that needs to happen. Anyway, we're in the middle of a battle.
We are really bad at the like narratively heavy points. We don't stay on task.
We're like, no, there's tension. Let's talk about something else.
There's tension. Let's break it. I like the sound it makes when it shatters.
Clink. Oh.
All right, so we're at Helm's Deep. I'm just going to reset the scene real quick. We're at Helm's Deep. It's raining, thunder and lightning. The orcs are firing arrows, but the humans are not responding.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we
And
go.
every
We're
ear
there.
glinted, every ear of corn, which is a person, glinted with barbed light.
Wah.
Brazen trumpets sounded. The enemy surged forward, some against the deeping wall, others towards the causeway and the ramp that led up to the Hornburg gates. Oh, yeah, here we are. There the huge orcs were mustered and the wild men of the Dunland Fells. And then they're all wearing the Hand of Isengard.
Ghastly. And there we are.
That's how we got off track. They reached the summit of the rock. They drove towards the gates. Then at last an answer came. A storm of arrows met them and a hail of stones. They wavered, broke, and fled back, and then charged again, broke and charged again, and each time, like the incoming sea, they halted at a higher point. Again trumpets rang, and a press of roaring men leaped forth. They held their great shields above them like a roof, while in their midst they bore two trunks of mighty trees. Behind them orc archers crowded, sending a hail of darts against the bowmen on the walls. They gained the gates. The trees, swung by strong arms, smote the timbers with a rending boom. If any men fell, crushed by a stone hurtling from above, 2 others sprang to take his place. Again and again the great rams swung and crashed. Eomer and Aragorn stood together on the drooping wall. They heard the roar of voices and the thudding of the rams, and then in a sudden flash of light they beheld the peril of the gates. "Come," said Aragorn, "this is the hour when we draw swords together." Running like fire, they sped along the wall and up the steps, and passed into the outer court upon the rock. As they ran, they gathered a handful of stout swordsmen. There was a small postern door that opened in an angle of the burg wall on the west, where the cliff stretched out to meet it. On that side a narrow path ran round towards the great gate, between the wall and the sheer brink of the rock. Together Eomer and Aragorn sprang through the door, their men close behind. The 2 swords flashed from the sheath as one. "Guthwinne!" cried Eomer. "Guthwinne for the mark!" "Anduril!" cried Aragorn. "Anduril for the Dunedain!"
Yeah.
Their battle cries are really silly. I'm sorry, I can't take them seriously. This is like if I went out and held up my succulent and went, "Milton!"
Yes. Let's just admit that the coolest battle cry ever is Eulalia and just be done with it.
Yes, that is much cooler than anything anyone uses as a battle cry in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it means and I've never known, but that's fine. I don't need to.
Care.
Charging from the side.
What it is. It means Eulalia.
Charging from the side, they hurled themselves upon the wild men. Anduril rose and fell, gleaming with white fire. A shout went up from the wall and tower. "Anduril! Anduril goes to war! The blade that was broken shines again." Dismayed, the rammers let fall the trees and turned to fight. But the wall of their shields was broken as by a lightning stroke, and they were swept away, hewn down, or cast over the rock into the stony stream below. The orc archers shot wildly and then fled.
I hear a Wilhelm scream. Ah!
I think is this the part where they actually put one in? I know there's one in Lord of the Rings somewhere.
I don't remember. Maybe?
Could be. Yeah. For a moment, Eomer and Aragorn halted before the gates. The thunder was rumbling in the distance now. The lightning flickered still, far off among the mountains in the south. A keen wind was blowing from the north again. The clouds were torn and drifting, and stars peeped out, and above the hills at the Coombe side, the westering moon rode, glimmering yellow in the storm rack. "We did not come too soon," said Aragorn, looking at the gates. Their great hinges and iron bars were wrenched and bent. Many of their timbers were cracked. "And yet we cannot stay here beyond the walls to defend them," said Eomer. "Look." He pointed to the causeway. Already, a great press of orcs and men were gathering again beyond the stream. Arrows whined and skipped on the stones about them. "Come, we must get back and see what we can do to pile stone and beam across the gates within. Come now." They turned and ran. At that moment, some dozen orcs that had lain motionless among the slain. That's why I don't know why that was so hard to say. At that moment, some dozen orcs that had lain motionless among the slain leaped to their feet and came silently and swiftly behind. 2 flung themselves to the ground at Eomer's heels, tripping him, and in a moment they were on top of him. But a small, dark figure that none had observed sprang out of the shadows and gave a hoarse shout. "Baruch Hazad! Hazad Amenu!" An axe swung and swept back. 2 orcs fell headless.
Cratchit. "Oh no, that's the worst battle cry there is. Well, what does it mean? Today is a good day for someone else to die."
Headcanon accepted, man. An axe swung and fell back and swept back. 2 orcs fell headless. The rest fled. Eomer struggled to his feet, even as Aragorn ran back to his aid. The postern was closed again, the iron door was barred and piled inside with stones. When all were safe within, Eomer turned. "I thank you, Gimli, son of Gloin," he said. "I did not know that you were with us in the sortie, but oft the unbidden guest proves the best company. How came you there?" "I followed you to shake off sleep," said Gimli. But I looked on the hillmen, and they seemed overlarge for me, so I sat beside a stone to see your sword play. What the fuck? I forgot about that. He fucking follows them out to a battle and goes, nah, I'm just gonna watch.
I'll sit this one out.
You're doing great, guys. Keep it up.
Popcorn. I need popcorn.
I shall not find it easy to repay you, said Aemir. For what? Oh, wait, that's right. He did eventually kill some orcs. But, like, come on. Anyway.
Yeah. It took a little too long, but okay.
There may be many a chance ere the night is over, laughed the dwarf, but I am content. Till now I have hewn naught but wood since I left Moria. 2, said Gimli, patting his axe. He had returned to his place on the wall. 2, said Legolas. I have done better, though now I must grope for spent arrows. All mine are gone. Yet I make my tale 20 at the least. But that is only a few leaves in a forest. Get a room, guys.
Right?
Okay, Gimli uses his battle cry again in the next section, so I'm going to try to get there. The sky now was quickly clearing, and the sinking moon was shining brightly, but the light brought little hope to the riders of the mark. The enemy before them seemed to have grown rather than diminished, and still more were pressing up from the valley through the breach. The sortie upon the rock gained only a brief respite. The assault on the gates was redoubled. Against the deeping wall, the hosts of Isengard roared like a sea. Orcs and hillmen swarmed about its feet from end to end. Ropes with grappling hooks were hurled over the parapet faster than men could cut them or fling them back. Hundreds of long ladders were lifted up. Many were cast down in ruin, but many more replaced them, and orcs sprang up them. That's kind of a shitty metaphor. Never mind. Orcs sprang up them. Let's leave it at that. Good. Before the wall's foot, the dead and broken were piled like shingle in a storm. Ever higher rose the hideous mounds, and still the enemy came on. The men of Rohan grew weary. All their arrows were spent, and every shaft was shot. Their swords were notched, and their shields were riven. 3 times Aragorn and Éomer rallied them, and 3 times Andúril flamed in a desperate charge that drove the enemy from the wall. Then a clamor arose in the deep behind. Orcs had crept like rats through the culvert through which the stream flowed out. There they had gathered in the shadow of the cliffs until the assault above was hottest, and nearly all the men of the defense had rushed to the wall's top. Then they sprang out. Already some had passed into the jaws of the deep and were among the horses, fighting with the guards. Down from the wall leapt Gimli with a fierce cry that echoed in the cliffs. Hazard! Hazard! He soon had work enough. Hey, oi! He shouted. The orcs are behind the wall. Hey, oi! Come, Legolas. There are enough for us both. Hazard, I'm in you. Today is a good day for somebody else to die. So that puts us at 7:59, and Sandy's making bread for dinner. So I'm very excited.
Yay! Yes.
Yes.
He's got hoofs, but he looks like he's wearing bell bottoms. I think I'm okay with this.
Yeah, I did kind of think he was wearing bell bottoms, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's okay. Like it's a very ElfQuest fashion statement, that is. I should put stitches up the sides.
Man, I forgot about all the bell bottoms in ElfQuest. Good times.
They make me happy. They really do. I don't like the final quest, though. I gotta say, it picks up like and tries to incorporate a whole shit ton of fan art and like decades ago someone turned it into a RPG, a tabletop RPG, and so like the final quest picks up the final RPG canon and tries to incorporate all of it, and it's just kind of a mess.
It's too many things.
And as far as I could tell, I think Wendy, who I worship with all of my heart, I think she picked up, started doing all of her work digitally, and I don't know, it's lacking something. It doesn't have quite the same. The characters move more stiffly.
Mm.
Their faces aren't as mobile, and their movements aren't as graceful. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just a loser who can't let go of the past. Oh well. It's dangerous to say such things publicly, even if no one ever watches this. They could.
They could. I mean, there's never any good reason to be a jerk about somebody else's work. But having a personal opinion about it, that it's not your
Right.
cup of tea, is not a problem.
That's exactly where I'm going for. It's not my glass of tea. It is, and
Indeed.
it's very, very in keeping with what an awesome people the Pennies are, that they did decide to just incorporate so much fan canon. Like, that must have been so thrilling for the people who were playing, and yeah, so.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Well, I am going to go chow down on some bread.
And I will see you here on Wednesday when we will probably finish the Battle of Helm's Deep. How will it end?
I don't know, but we're coming up on my favorite part of all 3 books, so that's exciting.
Which is your favorite part?
The conversation between Gimli and Legolas when they're talking about the caves under Helm's Deep, and Gimli has that amazing speech about how the dwarves would treat the caves. That is my favorite scene in the entire trilogy.
Just in case Gimli wasn't already your favorite, that's the scene that cements it for me. Like, it's anyway.
I kind of want to read that scene even if it's not my night to read when it comes up.
Oh, you don't want it in the random ass accent that I read Gimli in?
I have no problem with the accent you read Gimli, and it's just my favorite part. So I want to read it.
Well, knowing us, we'll probably manage to spend 40 minutes talking about something else. So
almost certainly. I mean, I'm going to have to tell you all about my new knitting project, and that's going to take a while.
Where's the sweater?
It is there, that way. It's the body's done, but I need to wash it before I start the sleeves because I don't know how much it's going to grow. And the body can be whatever length it is, but the sleeves I actually need to be as long as my arms. So I need to do some math.
Fair enough. Well, good luck, and I can't wait to see it and take lots of pictures, and I love you.
I love you too.
Cuidado.
Le amas. Bye.